Why do some people hear about Bitcoin and instantly get it, while many others basically just tune out? Together with Julian Figueroa, we break down 5 different Bitcoin investor archetypes, different mindsets that shape openness, skepticism, and adoption. Julian set out to make Bitcoin education smarter and more reliable, especially for people frustrated with the current financial system, but not really sure about what to do about it. We'll explore how understanding these 5 archetypes will help you save time and frustration when you talk Bitcoin with them. And keep watching to learn the surprising barriers that stand between most people and adopting Bitcoin to secure their future. All right, let's dive in. Julian Figueroa, welcome to Bitcoin for Millennials.
Thanks for having me, Bram. I'm on the tail edge of the millennial thing. I've been LARPing as a Gen Z, but I am indeed millennial.
Okay, well, you're exposed, but thanks for coming out. I know that's not easy, but yeah, thanks for coming on, dude. I'm absolutely loving your new channel called The Exit Manual. I know you did a lot of Bitcoin content before, but I think you have kind of like found your lane and your groove, and it's going really great. Like it's really blowing up. So I absolutely love that and recommend anyone to subscribe. And yeah, we're gonna unpack one of your latest videos that I really liked. It was called "It Sucks, but Telling People About Bitcoin Never Works." And like in that video, you kind of share like 5 archetypes of certain types of people and how to talk about Bitcoin with them. But before we dive in, I just wanted to know, like, how did you get into, first making Bitcoin education content? Like, what drew you in?
Oh man, well, I've been in Bitcoin for, God, now it's almost 10 years. And you know what it's like in the beginning, especially in those early days, there was nothing out there. And so you're constantly evangelizing your friends and family and all that stuff. And they never take your advice. The ones that do, they thank you every Christmas, and that's nice. But I wanted to go a step further, and I didn't know quite how to do it until I got rug pulled in 2018, and I lost like most of my Bitcoin through an exchange, rug pull called Quadriga CX. It was like the biggest exchange in Canada. This guy mysteriously died in India and took all our Bitcoin with him. So I had never been so gut wrenched before in my life, because it was just an unbelievable amount of my savings. And that was when I posted my first video, and it's just been a ride ever since then, kind of figuring out, well, what do people want to learn about in the Bitcoin space? What's going to really help people, and, what format to deliver it in. I started with doing kind of, Bitcoin news, did a little bit of trading stuff. Glad I got out of that. Kind of more basic tutorial videos. And then a couple of years ago, I started doing these documentaries going around to different Bitcoin circular economies, and that was really fun because it was more on the ground, more vlog style, kind of something different. Like what Joe Nakamoto is doing a lot of that now, but back then nobody was doing that stuff except a couple major news organizations. And then in 2024, I linked up with Isabella Santos, and we founded Get Based, which is our media company. And she has a show that she does every single week now. I have a show that I do every single week. And yeah, we're finding that's kind of the groove. I think people like something to look forward to. And this whole Bitcoin thing is a big journey. And so to kind of get to do that every single week is super, super fun.
I think you found your groove. But yeah, why is it so important for you personally? Like, what drives you? Why is Bitcoin such a big thing for you?
I think it's just something that has resonated with my value set. I know my dad got stuck in a really bad mortgage back in 2008 when I was growing up, and he was kind of trickling out like all of what Occupy Wall Street was to me at the time, and it just felt totally wrong that so many people had gotten away scot-free for gambling, basically, with everyone else's pensions and savings. And it's like we never really got past that. It only got worse. The Federal Reserve came in and basically infinitely bailed out the economies across the world. All the central banks kind of did. And that whole system felt really broken. And I was actually making videos about this stuff when I was like a teenager about Occupy Wall Street, but I didn't know about Bitcoin at the time. And so when I found out about Bitcoin, more seriously back in 2016, I didn't quite connect the dots together. I thought, oh, this is just a cool investment. I'm freshly out of university. I want to pick something to invest in. And then it really wasn't until kind of closer to COVID where I realized, oh wow, no, this is not only a hedge against inflation, this could be the cure for inflation and all the other nonsense that the central bankers and the finance industry kind of have. So yeah, it's just something that's like emotionally resonated with me since I was basically a kid. And it's just cool that now, full circle, I can kind of explain that to people every single week and do it in a way that I like. You know, all of my favorite educational content has always had a side of showmanship to it. I've had actually now 2 to 3 people call me the Bill Nye of Bitcoin. And I love that because I used to watch Bill Nye the Science Guy growing up. And it was just taking all this stuff that, you know, some boring ass, you know, elementary school teacher would teach you, but he would give you all these really cool visual examples and he'd get so into it. And I love that. And I just find learning can be so much more fun if we take the time to write it and meet people where they're at. And that's really what I've been trying to do with this show, is just meet people where they're at. The people that I really want to get this message across to are not the typical audience for Bitcoin content, which I do believe are more like 30 to 45, people who already have some wealth or maybe looking to diversify. I'm really trying to hit people who were basically where I was when I found out about Bitcoin, just coming out of university or just entering the workforce, and are frustrated, rightly so, about how unfair and broken our economy is, and how Bitcoin, you know, the earlier you find it, the more you are set to benefit from it into the future. So I've had people commenting on my videos that are like 16 and they're like, oh, I can't even buy Bitcoin yet. I can't get KYC'd. And I said, hey, you know, the ATMs charge a pretty awful spread, but maybe go get your mom to get some and start. And I have friends who have kids who are doing lemonade stands and accepting Bitcoin. And I do have some offensive language in my videos, but I don't think it's too early to start at those ages. And that's really who I want to get this message across to.
I think that's a nice bridge to your video, right? Like, it's also like, how do people become interested? How do you meet them where you are, right? So in this video, you describe how 5 distinct archetypes react to Bitcoin, different types of people engaging with Bitcoin based on their mindset, motivations, and understanding. And yeah, if we kind of like unpack it, because I love the first one. The first one is the Normie.
Normie. I have the hat somewhere. Here's my new Normie hat.
Okay, dope.
This is my new Normie hat.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
This is how I see all you people who I tell Bitcoin at Christmas, and 5 years running, you still haven't bought any. This is what you look like to me.
So the introduction of the Normie is, you know, the average person, comfortable in their routines, maybe not broke, but not really saving either. They watch Netflix, complain about prices, but tip 20% on a latte. And they nod politely when you mention Bitcoin, but they don't really act. They aren't just ready to question the whole system yet. What strategies do you find work best to kind of like nudge a Normie from polite nodding, like, okay, that's cool, to genuine curiosity? Like, I think these people are quickly overwhelmed when you just start talking like big picture and something is wrong.
You know, honestly, and not to like harp on people's intellect, the biggest barrier is sometimes the unit bias thing. It's like, oh, one Bitcoin's $100,000. I can't afford one. I'll never be able to afford it. I'm like, it's like there, you can split it up, right? You can get fractions of Bitcoin, but they say, oh, but it's 100,000. It's too late. Like, it can't go higher than that. You know, assets have ceilings for some reason. It's just like, yeah, you're totally right. Like, a house could never be $10 million or $100 million. I don't know what I was thinking when I pitched that, but I kind of like lose patience for it at this point. I think I was a little bit more tolerant a couple of years ago, but we've all heard about Bitcoin over and over and over again. And especially, I'll give Trump credit for this. Like, it became such a big election issue that everyone sort of heard it pop up last year. I would say 2024 was like the biggest mainstream year for Bitcoin since probably COVID, when it was, or, you know, 21, because of just how many times it was mentioned in the election, in attack ads, in, you know, we're going to do this for the economy. Trump's making speeches in crowds of 300,000 people, and they say, we're going to make, you know, America the crypto capital of the world. And there's 100,000 people in the crowd. They're probably like, yeah, I don't know what crypto means. But yeah, so there's all these people who kind of vaguely understand it. And at this point, if they still don't get that a Bitcoin can be split into like little parts, I don't know. I don't know what that says about us. I don't know if it says anything about them. But that's kind of the first barrier. Now, if they're not there, if they're past that stage and they kind of get the unit bias thing and all the other things are coming up, right? The Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme. Bitcoin is a scam. Bitcoin was invented by the CIA. All those ones, I'm okay with walking people through, you know, my understanding of those things and why I don't think they're true. Some people will say those things, and then you'll say your bit back. But what you got to realize is, like, unless they've asked you for your opinion on it, if they say something like Bitcoin is a scam, and they don't ask you, like, well, what do you think? If you just defend it, you just look like I don't know, a prophetizer. Like they're like, what? Like, in their head, they're thinking, what, do you work for Bitcoin? Like, why do you have to debunk this thing that I have, right? And so we have to be careful to immediately leap at Bitcoin's defense, because it actually is more ineffective than almost saying nothing, is what I've found. So I always say, when it comes to the normies, if they're genuinely curious and open, you can warmly answer their questions and their concerns. Otherwise, I like this idea of planting seeds. I like telling people the stat that I saw, and I goof the numbers sometimes, but I believe it's like, if you bought $2 of Bitcoin a day for the last 8 years, you're at like 100 grand right now. And people are like, oh, well, that doesn't sound too burdensome. And it's two birds in one stone, because you've also just clarified that you can buy $2 of Bitcoin a day. You can't buy $2 of Tesla a day. You can't buy $2 of a house a day. You can't buy anything for $2 a day that actually compounds. So it does a lot of things. And I always lead with that line with my normie friends now. And I say, hey, you don't have to be rich to get into this stuff. It's like, just don't do the Starbucks. Just, grab some Bitcoin and you're good.
When it comes to holding Bitcoin securely, peace of mind starts with architecture. OnRamp's multi-institution custody model distributes control access across 3 independent regulated key holders in a 2 of 3 multi-sig quorum. No single point of failure, no pooled or omnibus exposure, just segregated client-titled vaults. You retain full legal ownership while OnRamp coordinates security, compliance, and operational workflows behind the scenes. Multi-institution custody is the foundation for everything that OnRamp builds. Sound infrastructure that distributes counterparty risk and provides fault-tolerant resilience with clear audits and institutional controls. And now OnRamp is piloting flat, predictable pricing to make best-in-class Bitcoin custody and financial products more accessible than ever. Visit onrampbitcoin.com to learn more and sign up with code BRAM, that's BRAM, to receive $150 in Bitcoin after your first deposit. OnRamp, strength in many, simplicity in one. My American friends, I've got something for you. If you're into Bitcoin, you want to grow your stack in any way possible. What if you could do it effortlessly just by spending your fiat? The Gemini Bitcoin credit card is designed to help you do just that, by giving you instant Bitcoin rewards on every purchase. Just use it like any other credit card and earn back up to 4% on transportation, 3% on dining, 2% on groceries, and 1% on everything else. There are no annual fees for this card and no exchange fees to receive your Bitcoin rewards. Sign up to get your limited edition Bitcoin Orange credit card and earn a $200 Bitcoin bonus when you spend $3,000 in the first 90 days. You can find more information and terms in the description below, or go to gemini.com/Bram to sign up today and start stacking effortlessly. That's gemini.com/Bram. Yeah, it's fascinating, I think, also because I think for normies, stuff just works in some way. They aren't really bothered with perhaps something that you and I would be bothered with, right? And that's not a judgment or anything. In that sense, I think the ignorance is bliss. But like you said, when you as the Bitcoin person, kind of like go all in and be like, well, it doesn't really matter if SHA-256 was created by the NSA because it is an open source standard, blah, 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 right? Like that is just too far out.
Well, they won't even ask those questions. That's like the Archetype 4 one. Like, that's a conspiracy theory. Like, they'll go. No, there.
I mean more like the okay. If they say it's a Ponzi scheme,
the normie will just probably say like it's too expensive or it's a scam. Right? Yeah.
I always ask, like, who runs the scam?
Yeah.
But I recently had a podcast with Figgs O'Sullivan, who's a psychotherapist, and he said you also need to earn the right to actually explain Bitcoin, right? And I think you say something similar. It's like, well, if they're not interested, but then, yeah, it doesn't really make sense to push it on them, right? And I do actually think that is also sometimes hard when you are into Bitcoin. Like, you do at some point, some people don't want to really anymore, but you do want to tell other people about it, especially like the people that you love, right? Like if Bitcoin helped you to gain certain security towards the future, etc. Like it is something that you want to tell other people. But I agree, if you force it too much, you're kind of like this snake oil salesman. It's like you're going door to door with your Tupperware or something, And it's this is like the best thing. You should do it. It would be stupid if you don't buy it, right? Like something, even if you say something like that, like that's a classic sales technique, probably.
Well, the one that bothers me now is especially like there's been this massive rise of prediction markets and gambling, and normies really fall for those things. Like I have people who know how to use Polygon Network because they wanted to bet on an election or like a sports outcome, right? And so technology wise, like they could totally get Bitcoin in their wallet. Like they have to self custody to even use those platforms, I believe. And they'd rather gamble on like events than just buy like $2 of Bitcoin a day, right? And that's really where it's sort of like, what are we doing, right? That's where you again, you have that impulse, like you really want to help your friends because you see them going down the wrong path. They get everything else about the tech, but they just want to gamble, or lottery ticket people, right? So,
well, and that's also really normalized, right?
Yeah.
Like if people realize that saving doesn't really work. We think it works with Bitcoin, obviously, but if they just think like it doesn't really work with dollars, then I'm just going to gamble. I probably have more chance of getting rich, right? It's crazy how normalized that is, actually. That unknowing risk taking, also. Yeah, the second archetype. That's the one I think I just referred to with Occupy Wall Street, right? The ideologue. They see all the problems, the corrupt politicians, the billionaires, the bad presidents, the system rigged against the common man, but they're stuck blaming the players and not the game. Like they're addicted to picking sides, left, right, instead of seeing Bitcoin as a solution beyond that. How can we help those people that are just pointing towards others to realize that Bitcoin is basically a whole nother game? This is what I got from Jeff Booth. I asked him a question about how can you step into the future with Bitcoin or something like that. And he was like, no, you could do that today. And then I was like, yeah, that's right. Like that is what you can do. You can just take energy away from the fiat money system and put it in Bitcoin. And I think that is actually, in my mind, what would be the thing for the ideologue. But yeah, what are your thoughts on approaching those people?
Well, Jeff Booth, he's a one of a kind. He's got such a calm disposition about him, and it's so disarming. I'm not that person. I'm a lunatic. So I'm the wrong person to disarm maybe people. And maybe that's the strategy to deal with those people, is just kindly like disarm them, be the mirror that makes them realize they're in the matrix. But the thing with the ideologues is that they're so into the game of politics. They're the people who tweet, my guy just won for president, and I'm not talking about just lefties, at all. It's totally people on the right side. I think that it's horseshoe theory a lot of the time with politics. I think that the communists have a lot more in common with, the Nick Fuentes groypers than they like to admit. They think that top-down control is what we need. That's the type of system reset that we need. We need someone who's smart, who can come in there and just strip it all out and break a couple, pieces of China on the way, and then everything's good and the government takes care of it. Very hard to convince those people that Bitcoin is a solution because they think that centralization is a solution. They don't understand how powerful and effective the free market is. You have to get through that before you pitch them Bitcoin, because inevitably you can try and pitch them Bitcoin, but they'll always land on like, oh, it's a scam because XYZ supports it, or, oh, it's a scam because it was founded by this other organization that might have also been political. And so there's just no winning because they will only look at Bitcoin through a political lens. And so you have to, I say, just don't even bother with those people. Like the thing about politics is, I mean, I don't know. You're in the Netherlands. I don't know if you've ever been like very politically engaged, but at one point I was really engaged with Canadian politics, and I really wanted to have a certain guy win and a certain guy lose. And every now and then you're rooting for your certain guy and he wins, and then you just get let down. And hopefully after that first time you get really jazzed about a politician and you get let down, you kind of learn your lesson to not get super engaged anymore and rest all your hopes on one man or one woman. But some people, it takes multiple times. It takes multiple disappointments of having their person win and having that person blow it, which they inevitably always do, maybe out of their hands because of the fiat system. That's the only way I see those people learning, is those people have to get disengaged from politics somehow. And it's just really hard for you as an individual to try and disengage someone out of their like team mentality. So yeah, save your breath.
Yeah, I don't think I was like really into it. Maybe a little, but like we recently, like 2 weeks ago, we had general elections, and I just realized that I tuned out. Like, it's just like all these people are playing a game with taxpayer money, and nothing is really changing for the better, which conceptually is the thing that I learned when I was younger, right? It's like, oh, the person with the best ideas gets elected, right? Or they have this coalition and then things will be better. But now, you know, I've seen for the past 10, 12 years, it's, of course, the message is always, it's going to be better. You know, it's going to be better. We're going to do great things. But if something better comes along, I'm happy to change my mind. But that's not really the feeling I have with the ideologues.
No. The ideologues have to go through what every Bitcoiner inevitably goes through when you're here long enough, and that's like an ego death. You just have to let go, and you have to be willing to face up to the fact that you might have been wrong for a large part of your life. And I think you and I as Bitcoiners have probably been through that at some point, realizing like, wow, we looked at the world probably incorrectly for a while. And as we study and we read these books and we watch these videos, we have to just like dump all this baggage that we came into it with, and just ideologues are the least ready people to do that.
Mm-hmm. So the third archetype is the mid-curve. I love that meme, by the way.
Yeah.
Also horseshoe, right? Like the retards and the savants are at the same level.
Yeah.
And then we have the mid-curve, which are basically the finance bros, right? That's what you say in the video, and I love that too. And it's the same people that you know. That's the other meme. Like I just found Bitcoin and I'm here to fix it. You know, like these people. So the mid-curve is curious, but they tend to ask the wrong question. What if the internet goes down? What about electricity usage? My favorite is, you know, what if there's like an EMP attack and like all the electricity goes down, right? What if all the countries in the world collude together at the same point and they shut the internet off at the same point, and bye with your coin?
All the satellites and aliens come down. It's just like
So they get stuck debating intrinsic value, dividend, stocks, risks, missing Bitcoin's bigger revolutionary point, which I say like, okay, so you're really into stocks. Who owns the stocks?
Yeah.
And then they're quiet. They're like, yeah, they're in my account. I said, yeah. In what? In the Microsoft Azure database of your stockbroker.
Yeah, the
right?
TTCC
That is actually getting them from this centralized. Anyway, you know, like that is where these people go. And like these big anti-arguments, like, what if the internet goes down on the EMP thing? I always say like, okay, if I can answer this question correctly, you know, can I get you into Bitcoin? Because this is the apocalypse, end of the road question, right?
Yeah.
There is nothing really after that. So, yeah, what is your best way to kind of like approach the mid-curve thinkers that are skeptic without actually understanding what they're arguing?
So I realized this the other day, is that actually the mid-curve thing is going to be very different moving forward, because whether they like it or not, they're probably going to own some because of the exposure to S&P 500. Maybe one day MicroStrategy is in there, right? And then they technically own a little bit of Bitcoin, or they own some proxy to Bitcoin, or they own some type of BlackRock wholesome ETF that's 2% in Bitcoin. Very soon, all these people, unless they have willingly opted out and they're like, I don't like that BlackRock has 2% exposure, I'm going to move to Vanguard ETFs, they're all going to have exposure to Bitcoin. So the argument moving forward will be, well, you already own some, right? Like you already own some exposure to it. Wouldn't you like to know a little bit more about it? Wouldn't you like to know why the largest fund manager in the world is allocating some of their general portfolios to it? And wouldn't you like to know why your pension is doing this a little bit too? Like maybe there is something more to this. And so I think now it's a little bit easier to gentlier nudge them into realizing, oh yeah, there's something there. And then if they come to you with genuine curiosity about the electricity thing, the intrinsic value thing, I would say we as Bitcoiners, we need to get a little bit better at explaining it and using metaphors. There's this one that I came up with, and I looked for other people to come up with it. I couldn't find it. So I don't think I'm a stroke of genius, brilliant here. But the intrinsic value one is a really good one because it's like Bitcoin isn't physical. It's not backed by anything. Where's the intrinsic value? And I realized, yeah, it is kind of a hard concept to explain. And even Satoshi was saying that in his forum post. He's like, yeah, this is a really hard thing to explain to people. But then I realized, hold on a second. We've been buying ephemeral, non-physical properties on the internet for years, since the 90s. We call them internet domains, right? We call them virtual real estate, google.com, michael.com, hope.com. Yes, there's only one of them. Yes, it's hard or technically impossible to split them. But you're insane if you say that those things have no intrinsic value, right? I mean, if intrinsic value even exists, that's a whole other argument. But let's just say google.com, you're going to tell me that has no value? It's like, no. What is the value of google.com? It's what the market is willing to pay for it. And it's the same thing with Bitcoin. That's the value of Bitcoin, what the market is willing to pay for it. And then they say, oh, yeah, but it's a greater fool theory. It's only rises because the buyer thinks you can sell it to the next one for free.
Yeah, like a market.
Really? I'm not selling my Bitcoin. I'm keeping that shit. And I'm going to borrow cash against it, or I'm going to use it to buy things, or I'm going to pass it on to my grandchildren. So, I mean, you can sell me all the Bitcoin you want. As long as I have some dollars, I'll buy it. But I sure as shit ain't selling it to the next person. So I don't know where people get that from.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, it's different now. Different ballgame.
Yeah, well, the mid-curve is... They have arguments for against Bitcoin that are already answered with all these other assets, right? Like you said, I think the domain name is actually a really, really good one, right? And I think intrinsic value is a really big Keynesian term. And it also comes from all the gold stuff, right? Like all the people saying well,
we get stuck. We created that trap ourselves by doing the whole digital gold thing because gold has this perception of utility value, right?
Well, yeah. So I what I say about the digital gold illustration is that is more a direction of to help people think in a certain direction rather than an exact copy in a digital way, right? I think a few weeks ago I tweeted gold has value because it's used in electronics, earrings, the thing you use as money should only be used as money. That would, in my mind at least, conceptually be the best money. If there are other use cases for the thing you're using as money, then it's not the best money, if that makes sense, right? So Bitcoin, in my mind, is engineered money. It's the whole point is that it is it's money. But the mid-curve people with these arguments, they use these arguments that sound smart, but they don't really make sense. Like you said, it's greater fools. People buy it from other people at a higher price than the seller bought it for before. Yeah, that's a market, anything, right? So it's like these arguments, but they don't really understand what their own fundamental belief is about what they're saying is the argument, right? And the whole intrinsic value thing I find really hard. I usually just say, I think all value is subjective. Maybe only carbon and oxygen have intrinsic value or something.
I don't want to be too mean to the mid-curve people, but I do think though that they are very swayable by the people that they trust and they believe in. And the world's coming around on Bitcoin, right? The pension funds are, the asset managers are, the biggest people in wealth, all billionaires are. And so eventually it's they'll get the answers to their questions and they won't be so resistant to it. Yeah. I wouldn't put Peter Schiff in there. That's a whole different breed. That's a whole, that's my career rests on hating this thing. I don't think most are like that, right? They're not going to die on their hill of not understanding or not wanting Bitcoin.
Yeah. I think Peter Schiff is a one of one, probably.
He's a one of one. He's an ultra rare Labubu NFT for sure.
Right now, through 2025, Blockstream is running their biggest sale yet. 21% off the Blockstream Jade Plus right in their store, and your price is adjusted at checkout. This is the lowest price you'll see all year on the most trusted Bitcoin-only hardware wallet on the planet. The Blockstream Jade Plus is the simplest, most secure way to protect your Bitcoin. With a sleek design, full color display, and a dead simple setup, you'll be securing your sats in minutes. And pair it with their Blockstream app for the smoothest onboarding, offering advanced features like air-gapped setup, QR mode, and native multi-sig support as your stack grows. Go to store.blockstream.com, where the 21% discount is active through December 31st. And if you use my code BRAM, that's BRAM, you get an extra 10% off your order. Let's talk about something a lot of people don't think about before it's too late. Where are you storing your Bitcoin seed words? Are they truly secure? I found my solution with Stampseed. They now offer both 12 and 24 word titanium plates, so whether you're securing a hardware wallet or a multi-sig setup, they got you covered. Your seed phrase gets permanently stamped into pure titanium that withstands fire, survives water, and lasts for generations. Unlike shallow etching methods, Stampseed's patented tools help you to deeply stamp every letter for permanent readability, protecting your financial legacy. Their new kit includes test pieces for practice and is compatible with both the 12 and the 24 word plates. Paper seed phrases are a disaster waiting to happen. Secure your Bitcoin with Stampseed for decades to come. Go to stampseed.com and use code BRAM21, that's BRAM21, for 21% of your order between November 26th and December 2nd. I think the mid-curve actually are the people that Jesse Myers describes in Why the Yuppie Elite Dismiss Bitcoin. You know, that article of him, like they are somewhat smart, they're intelligent, but they trust, like you said, they trust others still, right? They trust certain institutions, etc. Which again is also funny. Like you just mentioned, there are plenty of billionaires that are balls deep into Bitcoin, right? And just in general, the most successful ETF launched ever is the Bitcoin ETF by BlackRock, right? So even stuff like that isn't really swaying them yet. But I agree with you. Like it probably over time, it's kind of like unignorable.
Well, you know what the mark of, true intelligence or emotional intelligence is that the people like Michael Saylor and Larry Fink have all come out and said, I was wrong, right? I was wrong. I was wrong about it. I said stupid things about it in the past. I was wrong, and I learned about it, and that's great. It's like we all could use a little humility, right?
Yeah, I like that too. Well, then 4 is the Skeptic. These ones I like too. So the skeptics don't trust anyone and they question everything. They've gone down the conspiracy rabbit hole. They don't believe in quick solutions and see Bitcoin as maybe another trap by those in power. But if you feed their curiosity with facts, cryptography, and incentives, they might come around. Yeah, I like these people on one side, and the other side, I'm also just thinking, like, how aware are they of the thoughts that they formed, right? Like sometimes I'm in discussions and these people are sometimes just too black-pilled. It's kind of similar to the normie in a sense, where the normie is like, well, I cannot really influence it. The skeptic is like, everything is fucked. Like everything is fucked and we cannot change it. Any possible solution that is offered to us is also a psyop by, whatever three-letter agency. So how can we engage these people productively?
Well, the good thing about these types of people is generally they are very big consumers of information. They are book readers, they are podcast listeners. And so you just need to find something that can get on their radar, because I think Bitcoin is one of those things, like the more time you give it, the more it makes sense. And the more that you don't really go back, you don't really unwind once you understand Bitcoin, unless you're like Nassim Taleb, you kind of like in this camp forever. So, send them the Michael Saylor podcasts, send them maybe something with someone who pushes back a little bit on a Bitcoin evangelist. Like, I think sometimes the problem with some of the content that we do in this space is it's like two people who just like vehemently agree with each other, and so maybe send them a debate, Bitcoin versus gold, let them come to their own conclusions. But I say arm them with like the technicals, arm them with stuff that's like a little bit deeper, because they've proven, hopefully, if these are the types of people I'm thinking about, that they will go really deep to seek the truth on something, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of these people already also know that the fiat system is a big scam. And if you've already gotten there with people, you're at a good place, because the people who realize the fiat system is a scam also are very easy to convince that gold is not the answer. Gold cannot replace the fiat system because it is just trust all over again in order for that thing to work. So, you know, send them, I did a documentary on Jekyll Island. It ended with like a buy Bitcoin sign. I send that to people, and yeah, those people will give you the time of day at least, which is good. But it's good to not trust everything that you read and you hear. You just have to figure out what is the angle for these people to actually get interested in the first place. These are the types of people that you should bring to Bitcoin meetups if you know one in your life, because you're just going to surround them with like a whole bunch of people who probably agree with most of the other conspiracy theories you agree with, except they're not black-pilled on the future. And so you're bringing them into a place that already has like a ton of value alignment, that already has an interest alignment, but then you're surrounding them with like a bunch of people who are positive thinkers. And so I think that energy is contagious. So yeah, if you have a skeptic in your life that doesn't get Bitcoin yet, just like bring them to a meetup.
That's a perfect point, actually, because I think a lot of Bitcoiners are super positive about the future. They have a positive outlook toward the future while they are living in this current paradigm that is pretty fucked up at some point, right? So it's just taking that at face value and then adopting something like a better money, but also the mindset, I think, and the philosophy that comes with that to create some sort of more positive outlook toward the future that actually helps you to operate in the now also better, just while you're moving towards the future.
What's going on with the Bitcoiners right now is if you really get Bitcoin and you've let Bitcoin work for you, it's like you're at the airport in Clown World and you're in the business class lounge and you're just waiting for the plane to arrive and take off. That's the fiat system just crumbling away. So at least like you get to enjoy the business class lounge in Clown World.
I like that. All right. The last archetype is the 90%er. So these are people who question everything and they already have a strong belief in something bigger. They're entrepreneurs, engineers, founders, the DIY crowd. They don't need external validation to start a business or quit their job. You don't have to sell them Bitcoin. But we are more an example for them by showing our personal conviction. But most of them haven't really made the leap yet. They don't have the time, etc. So how do we reach them? I recognize these people a lot, actually, and that when I talk to them and they mention like what they're doing with investing or whatever, you know, and they know what I do, they do ask about Bitcoin. But I think these people are quite rare, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that perfectly describes Michael Saylor in 2019, right? All the pieces, like looking for a solution for his problem, like big self-starter, really gifted, building something incredible, and just didn't quite connect the dots yet. And then things in life just bring you to that answer. And so I think a lot of the time, the people will just like an event will help catalyze those people into motion, which is what I think happened for a lot of us. Maybe we were all 90%ers at some point. Maybe we weren't. It's a spectrum. You can start as a normie and become a 90%er if you really put your ass to work. But I would say if you see these people in your life and you don't want to just have, you know, fate have Bitcoin land in their lap, just be an example for them. Like, you don't have to evangelize these people. You know, they will naturally, if they're your friends, they'll ask you about Bitcoin. They'll just ask you questions. You just need to lay back and let them come to you, and they'll get it. Like, you just have to trust that process. Yeah,
I think so. What do you think holds them back from committing? Like,
I think it's just time. It's just time.
Yeah,
these people are busy, man. Because it's like, you don't understand how much you need Bitcoin until you've already invested some time into understanding it. Like, you don't understand how urgent it is. And also, these people could be high earners, right? And so the fiat system doesn't look that bad if you're making 150 grand a year and you have a second apartment or any of these things. Like, it's not immediately apparent to you, right? Why would it be? And then some people too are like, you can own Bitcoin without being like an ideologue like us about it, where you're trying to like indoctrinate people. It's like, you can just own Bitcoin and just shut up. It's so hard for me to imagine just owning Bitcoin and shutting up about it, but that's going to be most of the world, right? And so they just need to get to that stage where they're just like, oh yeah, I should probably get some of this. And, you know, some of them might become podcasters or YouTubers, but most of them are just going to buy that thing and store it well. And the cool thing is those people will come to you down the line and ask, like, do I buy the micro strategy or do I buy the spot Bitcoin and keep it in cold storage? And that's where you can be really useful in explaining the differences between those things. But you got to just trust they'll come around on it.
I like those people a lot, actually, that are just undercover. They're happy. They're living life. And
they're making it work.
And that's it, yeah. So how early do you think we still are then? If we think about all these people, we think about the accelerated monetary debasement of fiat money. We think we see the problem that there's this road or the train that's not stopping, like Lynn Alden says. What do you think? How with regard to how early we are?
This is a hard question because I'm surrounded by like a city that has the most Bitcoin merchant adoption. I think, well, now it's changed because of Square, but we were one of the biggest merchant adopting cities in the world in Vancouver. And so everywhere I would go, I run into Bitcoiners. I go to downtown Vancouver, I'll meet one of the 200 people that show up in our meetup just randomly on the street. And so when that's happening to you, you think, yeah, probably not early anymore. Like, this seems to be catching on. Like, it has a big presence in our city. Our mayor is super orange pilled and based. So you see that and you're like, it doesn't feel like we're that early anymore. It feels like everyone kind of gets it now, or a large amount of people get it. But then you step outside your bubble of North America and you really realize, you know, particularly in Asia, there's a lot less adoption than you would think. Like in India, there's basically nothing. Largest country by population on earth. There's zero Bitcoin scene going on there. We were in Tokyo filming a documentary for Metaplanet. The Tokyo Bitcoin meetup, it's the largest city in the world. It's 40 people to it, advertised everywhere, all sorts of messaging boards. So you see that, and then you're like, oh, crap, like maybe we're not early. So I'm kind of torn. I think mass adoption-wise, I think North America is very far ahead on it, which is good. In terms of the monetization, like how close are we to hyper-Bitcoinization? I think that we've finished, I think the earliest that all that is possible, my definition of hyper-Bitcoinization at this point is, you know, 10% of global assets maybe, or 15% of global assets. I think we're still a good 40 years away. I don't think people want to hear that, but I don't think that we're seeing $10 million Bitcoin in 2040. I think it's more of like a 2060 thing. You know, I know Michael Saylor's like, oh, it just has to do 29% a year on average to get to 14 million by 2045. And it's just too easy unless fiat really debases like crazy. But at that point, it's still not really like that big of an asset. Like a $10 million Bitcoin today is a big deal. A $10 million Bitcoin when the money supply has 10x is still not a big deal, right? So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think I think it's earlier than we want to hear.
Yeah,
and I think that's also the burden of being early. There's like an opportunity, but it's the burden at the same time. Because if you're long into Bitcoin, like now, there's certain amounts of Bitcoin just counted in Bitcoin that I don't think are a lot, but it's just because I still have the perception of like 8 years ago. But it's actually a lot now, if that makes sense, right? So I'm very biased based on my own journey, and that is really hard to shake. I think, like it's hard to understand where I am at now in where this is standing now and how I should think about it for myself, right? And just thinking like, okay, I've been looking at this for like 12 years. Dude, where is everyone? Right? That's what I'm thinking so many times. And that is I think what is hard about the conviction. Right, like it's just is slow, and I think also the fiat debasement will be, I don't want to say slowed down, but probably prolonged in some way. Like they're gonna find ways to kick the can down the road. Stable coins being one of them.
50, yeah, stable coins, 50-year mortgages. Like the hat of tricks is big, right? The
50-year mortgages, is wild.
Yeah, the thing that I'm kind of surprised about, honestly, because I thought this was going to happen a lot sooner when I really started looking into Bitcoin, is I thought there would be far more currency collapses into the US dollar. Like there would be a lot more dollarization. There basically has been none in the last 5 years. I don't think any other country has subbed out the dollar. And think about, like, that's pretty crazy. We've gone, what, almost I'd have to look it up, 5 or 10 years without another country foregoing their own currency to the dollar or the euro or something like that. When we've had so much excess money printing and so much debt and so many collapses in like Egypt and Lebanon, and like these people are still using like the lira, and Malay is trying to figure out something. I don't know if the dollarization is going to happen, but we have all these timelines in our head, like, oh, it's just around the corner. It's like if like little tiny fiat currencies can kick the can down the road, like what makes you think that the US dollar can't kick it infinitely further? Like the US dollar has way more runway and way more ability to do all these things than, Zimbabwe does or Venezuela does, right? So yeah, we gotta be a little bit more low time preference on this stuff. I know Bitcoiners are getting antsy, and I think it's just like we got to be careful. I'm in the Bitcoin media space, you are too. We know as content creators, as soon as we put power law or $3 million or get to 0.1 Bitcoin, you just get an influx of views because people are waiting. They want to hear the answer. When are they going to get to retire on this thing? And I just think like that's the wrong mindset to have. You should be trying to make as much income as you possibly can to take advantage of this opportunity. You should be glad that it's not ripping out of control. It's not getting impossible to buy Bitcoin. You should be glad to have down years because it gives you so much more time to earn and create that long-term Bitcoin stack. Because again, they're not creating any more of these things. If I knew they're only going to be 10 of something, right, forever, and there were 10 on the market, I would want as much time as possible to make enough money to buy one of those 10 things. And you can just say 21 million instead of 10. So it's a blessing and a curse. We want Bitcoin to go up so we can have our ideal lifestyle, right? But you got to create that for your own. You can't just sit and hope Bitcoin does it for you. Go out, create something. The Bitcoin will come to you, and then just chill. Let it do its thing.
I think the boredom and the patience is the biggest threat, right? Getting bored, feeling you need to do something, not having the patience because you don't understand it enough. I say that in a good way, in a sense, like this is not easy to understand, and to really build conviction on, like, yeah, it's just gonna take time.
Yeah, well, everything is about dual incomes now, right? It's like you have to earn your money twice, once when you go to work and once to protect it from inflation. And you can think of Bitcoin the same way. It's just like you want to get to where you want to get to. It's like you got to have two incomes. Your Bitcoin's going to be your little silent worker, but then you got to be the other actual worker in that mix. And then eventually you'll get to where you want to get to, right? Yeah. Like let Bitcoin do its thing. Don't bother it. Don't sell it. Don't think about the price. Like let it do its thing. It's on this like 10, 20, 30 year journey for you, right? Leave it alone. Cold storage it. You got to get your ass up and you got to go to work and you got to figure out more ways to get fiat or to just provide freaking value to the world. I'm such a believer that energy and money are so interlinked, and that when you create energy that people want and people can use in the form of products or services, the money will just be attached to it, really. Like if you can just find value, and I know we've become such doomers now because, AI is taking our jobs and all that stuff, but you have to think of the inverse opportunities on that, is that like we have all this free time, and we all know what humans do with their free time. They want to consume, they want to be inspired, they want to be moved, they have time to get deeper and learn things and improve themselves. Those are where all the business opportunities lie in the next 30 years. Self-improvement, learning, experiences, bada bing, right? Like I think we're not creating enough content, if anything, right? Like these centralized platforms can't keep up. YouTube, for example, is the fastest. It's the only streaming platform that's on a expanding growth trajectory. Netflix has kind of like peaked in watch hours. Amazon, Apple TV, all those. The average viewer is watching less of that every single day. They're watching more and more YouTube. It's the only one. What that tells me is that that's only going to accelerate over the next few years as we have more and more time, and YouTube is basically free. There's going to be all this demand to learn and to consume entertainment and all these things, and that is where massive opportunity lies. And AI is not going to take all those jobs. It's not even going to take most of them, in my opinion. People are going to want that human connection. So, side tangent: make your bag. Let Bitcoin make the other bag.
Yeah, it's I don't know who said it, but I once saw it's not stack sats, it's stay solvent stack sats. I like
stay solvent
that.
stack sats. Yeah,
I think that's a good one. All right. Yeah. Two last questions. When it comes to, Bitcoin education, maybe also for people that are listening that want to do something themselves, what do you see as the biggest challenge for educating people on YouTube or like through this type of content where, like you said, people look for education. They are, most people are focused with regard to entertainment or something like that on just like short-term stuff, but we like to educate people or hope to educate people on long-term thinking and, understanding of Bitcoin. And YouTube is also kind of like a game, right? Yeah. With the titles and the thumbnails and stuff like that. How do you look at that? Like what kind of challenges do you see here, and how can you kind of like create a balance between playing with that, but also thinking about what you actually want to convey to other people?
I guess there's like two parts to that question is like, how do you get the Bitcoin message out to more people? How do you give, right? Like what's the best method of giving? And then the other message is like, how do you turn that into something for yourself maybe as well, right? Like a career or monetize it and whatnot. I would say the best way to connect with people, the way to give Bitcoin knowledge to people is probably, I'm a very analytical person, so I really like to study what works. And I don't like to necessarily like copy it one for one, but I like to analyze, okay, why is Michael Saylor the most listened to person in Bitcoin? I get that the conviction part is part of it, right? But, when he bought $500 million of Bitcoin, he was not one of the biggest Bitcoin holders back in the day. What is Michael Saylor's killer skill? He can weave these fantastic metaphors. He has this super rich, deep understanding of the tapestry of history, and it makes him such an engaging speaker to listen to. And I really think that's part and parcel of his success. You can go even smaller to like just, YouTube influencers without a massive billion-dollar stash of Bitcoin. And analyze like, why are they connecting so well with people? Like what about Andreas Antonopoulos? Like, why was he so good at connecting with people in the early days? And you just go into looking at things like it was his cadence, it was his patience, it was his illustration of various metaphors, it was his succinctness with how he explains certain points. And so if you want to get across to people, you kind of have to analyze like, what are the most successful people in this space been able to do through their writing to really get these concepts across, and how can you bring that into your own voice? It's not for everyone. Sometimes you can just turn on a camera and just go and not overanalyze it or overthink it. But all my success personally has come from really studying the greats and figuring out what worked for them and how does that fit into my talent routine and my talent skill set. The other thing I would say is that if you want to actually be successful at this and you want to, grow a career and just find something out of it that is bigger than just making videos to like 100 subscriber channel, consistency is the most important thing. Like, find a rhythm and stick to it like a job that if you don't do it, you get fired or you let down your whole family on. This was one thing I didn't take seriously in the beginning, but it was sort of like, okay, I'll make a video every day. Oh, can't do that. Never mind. Maybe once a week. Oh, I'm going on a vacation though. I'll skip this week. No. Pick your schedule, figure out how to do it while you're moving, and lock the F in, at least for 6 months to a year, in order to see results. It's been a grind for you. It's been a grind for me. I know that the exit manual has done really well overnight, but it's not the first thing I've done. I've been doing this for like 7 years trying to teach people Bitcoin. I had a channel it took me 6 years or 5 years to get my first channel to 1,000 subscribers. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just pumping out videos with no cadence, no plan, no strategy. As soon as I said, we're doing this once a week. I'm wearing the blue suit every single time I do it. The videos are 8 minutes long. They're going to have this, this, and this. It all started to work. People like routines. People like patterns. It gives you something that you can work inside of instead of like having this infinite realm of charted possibilities. That's kind of daunting to work through. Consistency, consistency, consistency. If you can stick to a routine, if you can create a format, think of your thing as a show, right? If you do that, you're going to do well. So
awesome.
Yeah.
That's great advice. I'll ask you some other stuff after this, but yeah, awesome. No, I love the consistency part. Doing this has really learned me what consistency is, and what it brings, and also how hard it is, right? Like sometimes I don't feel like recording something with someone, not because I don't want to talk to the person, but it's just like I'm tired, like, or I want to do something else. But
dude, I did that episode a couple of weeks ago. It was about Nick Fuentes. I had like a full-on fever while filming it, and I said, look, I will do it as long as it doesn't look like I have a fever on camera. So I put the camera on, I recited a couple lines, and I watch it back, and I was like, I can like 2% tell, but I don't think other people would. And so I was like, fuck it. My nose is like completely stuffed. I'm super sweaty, even though it's 6 degrees out. And I'm like, nope. It's a weekly schedule. We're doing it. There's no sick days.
Nice. Yeah, fun. Well, that was great advice. All right, I want to ask you the last question, and I ask everyone the same question, which is, what is a core belief you will never let go of?
Oh, good one. I think that truth always finds its way out in the end. You cannot hide truth forever. And it can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. It can apply to you in your personal life. It can apply to like historical analogs, but you cannot store a lie forever. It will always break through, and it's the same with cover-ups in government or in money or in education. The truth will always come out. So think about that as you apply it to your own life. You might be able to stomach a lie for a week, a month, a year, but the longer you let it sit, usually the more damage it does when it does come out. So yeah, don't hide things.
Great, man. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for your time, your advice, and let's stay in touch. I'm looking forward to your new videos, man. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Bram. What a fun rip. Super dope.
Likewise. Cheers, brother. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, you can click here to find more just like it, and click here to find all Bitcoin for Millennials podcast episodes. Also, please like this video if you want to help shine a light on the message of Bitcoin, and subscribe to my channel to stay connected. I hope to see you for a next episode. Bye.